New piece of gear for 2018. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket. A lot of hype about this thing, but is it good for running, backpacking, hiking? Only one way to find out. It's about 13 degrees today, got a little over 13 miles to go and about 3 hours to do it. Let's test this thing out. All right, on the trail. Out here at beautiful Afton State Park in Minnesota. It's cold, it's windy. Lighting conditions are not phenomenal, so should be a pretty good test for this thing. Kind of fun how this thing tracks your face. Probably can't tell, but I'm just moving my arm here. Not bad. Maybe getting a little bit of background noise. It's about ½ inch of snow with about another ½ inch of ice underneath, so got spikes on for a little extra grip. Thought that might come into some of the audio too, so we'll see how this turns out, but pretty cool package that this thing comes with. Has a lot of features, small and lightweight. That's what I'm looking for. Check it out. One thing to note with this thing is it's working really well with gloves on, which I was not expecting. I don't have the touch sensor gloves or the special ones for your phone, but I'm able to utilize the buttons and the touch screen. And that's nice on a cold day where it's windy and I don't want to take my gloves off. So that's a nice little feature. Check it out. We'll run up this little hill, see how it does. Woo! So for today, doing a little over 13 miles, but I'm out here for a hike. So on the flats, I usually get about 4 miles an hour, and then I run the downhills. So overall, I'll average about 4.5, 4.7 miles an hour for the days. Nice little feature. It's only got 2 buttons on the back. Triple click. And it flips around to your face and immediately starts face tracking. So that is pretty awesome. So a little background on what I plan on using this for. I run ultra marathons, go for hikes, do a lot of backpacking, and I'm really looking for one piece of gear that can kind of do it all for me. So really looking for, first and foremost, really good video quality. Second, audio quality. Third, probably stabilization, which this thing is known for. It's got an automatic gimbal, so it should be pretty good because I'm always on the move and watching shaky footage. It gets really old really quick. And then another thing I'm really looking for is the size and then the weight. So this thing is tiny. Like I said, fit it in a fanny pack, pocket, whatever you want. And then the weight is about, I think I said 5.7 ounces. So it fits almost anywhere. Doesn't add a lot of bulk or weight to your pack or running vest, whatever you're using, and shoots awesome video. So I think this is going to be a pretty key piece of the kit from here on out. Obviously, have to see how the footage turns out. However, it seems pretty awesome. Give this a little triple click. And we're back to shooting up front. All right, got a nice hill, covered in ice. Maybe it's the best idea to run, but here we go. Woo! See if the face track is still working. Flip it around. There we go. Should be a really good test for the stabilization. Woo! And made it to the river. Big stair test. Down to the old St. Croix. Should have brought a lawn chair. Now that I'm done with the first test run of the DJI Osmo Pocket, I wanted to give you my thoughts. First up are the pros, then the negatives, and then last up is going to be overall, do I think this device is going to work for me? Starting with the pros, I think that the biggest pro is the video quality. And that should be the case with this device. It shoots fantastic 1080 to 4K video, and it's really stabilized. And for what I'm going to use this for, with running and hiking and backpacking, I think that that's a game changer with having this stabilized footage. Now, I know there's other options like the GoPro, but I think that with the gimbal, it gives you just a little bit extra. So overall, I was really happy with the video quality. Next up is the audio. I was pretty impressed with the audio. This is the stock audio. I haven't done any kind of post editing on it, so this is all going to be the stock footage and the stock audio that you're getting with all of this. And overall, I was impressed. It kind of has gotten a bad rep a little bit, but out of the box for such a small device, the audio is pretty impressive. Next up is the ease of use. It's just simple. You pull it out, you hit the on button, and you can immediately start recording within a few seconds. So it's going to be pretty tough to miss a lot of the shots just because it's so simple to get out of a pocket and start using immediately. The screens are also really easy to figure out and to navigate while you're on the go. And like I mentioned in the video, I did it with gloves on, which I didn't know about, and I think that's a really nice feature, especially when it's cold out and you don't want to have to deal with it. Next up is the features. For such a small package, they really packed a lot of features into this small device. It shoots 1080 to 4K video, like I mentioned. It has the built-in 3-axis gimbal. The tracking abilities are a really great feature. It really allows you to be a one-person film crew. It does face tracking, so it doesn't lose your face in the shot, but it also has something called active track, where you can select on an object and either walk around it, or you can select an object that's moving and the gimbal will follow it. So that is a really impressive feature with this. Next up is the time lapse and motion lapse. I didn't get a chance to play around with it too much, but it's a feature that I'd really like to explore more, and I've seen a lot of really great footage with it. So it has time lapse and also motion lapse, where you can set the gimbal to start on one end and then pan to the other while it's shooting the time lapse, which is a pretty awesome thing. It also allows you to do a standard panorama or a 3x3 panorama to get those really wide, really cool shots. So for such a small device, it has a lot of features. So out of the box, I'm pretty impressed. Next up, things that were a positive were how small it is. So I'll show you a picture right up here. It's a really small package and it fits almost anywhere. I had it in a pocket, I had it in a bag, I had it in my fanny pack. I just kind of moved it around and it's really simple to get in and out because of the size of it. And then last up, something that's important to me with backpacking and running is the weight. It only weighs about 4 ounces, which is really impressive. With the case that's involved, this thing right here, it's about 5.6 ounces. And I would really recommend, if you're going to use this for outdoor use the case, because the case, it's a really hard plastic. It really will protect the gimbal and all the features that this thing packs into it. And I'm not going to leave home without it for the extra about 1.5 ounces that it's going to add on there. It's really going to protect your device while you're out in the elements. Now, on to the negatives. So the biggest negative that I could come up with is the battery. The battery says that it'll last between 1 to 2 hours depending on what type of footage that you're shooting. If it's 4K video at 60 frames per second, I think they said it'll last about 1.5 hours. But if you're shooting on 1080, it should last between 1 hour and 40 and 2 hours. Now, I didn't see that on this test run. There were a couple factors that goes into that. You know, it was in the teens, so battery is going to be probably diminished a little bit just because of the temperatures that I was experiencing. But also, one of the biggest negatives that I found is that I wanted to use this with my phone. I wanted to put my phone on a tripod, plug in the Osmo Pocket, and then be able to utilize the bigger screen and then also set up some still shots and set up some frame shots. But what I realized is that when you plug in the phone immediately starts charging and draining the battery of the Osmo Pocket. And that's really unfortunate because the battery is not that big on this thing to start with. So you're in the field and you're trying to use this all day long, and immediately when you plug it into your phone, it's not only using the battery within the Osmo Pocket, but it's also draining the battery and charging your phone. So that was a huge negative. I was out there for a little over 3 hours and I didn't even get to film the entire time. So some additional testing that's needed on that, but overall I'm just not happy with the feature of it charging the phone. And I know that's not all the Osmo's fault. Most phones, they default to charging your phone. And unfortunately at this point, there isn't a way to switch that within your phone. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of a bummer that I can't do that. So it's not all doom and gloom with the battery. It does allow you to charge it via USB-C in the bottom of the device, and it will still work with a battery bank. So if the battery does get low, as long as you bring an external battery pack, you can just plug it in and then still utilize the Osmo Pocket while it's charging. So that's a nice feature, and it is a little bit of a workaround for the smaller battery that is within the Osmo Pocket. Another potential issue that I noticed was the durability. Now, I didn't have any issues, but with the 3-axis gimbal, I just don't know at this point. It's not built like a GoPro where you could toss it in the dirt or drop it and really not have any issues. It does have, like I mentioned, this carrying case that is really burly. So as long as I think you keep it in this case when it's not in use, you should be good to go. And I really don't think it's going to be any more of an issue than carrying a regular pocket camera out in the field. Last up, it's not waterproof. Now, that's not a deal breaker for me, but it would have been a nice feature because it would be nice to take it out and shoot in the rain or take underwater. Now, I know they do have a waterproof case, but for what I use it for, a waterproof case is just going to be too big to carry and just isn't going to make sense for my needs. Overall, that's really all the negatives that I can come up with. This is a great little package. It shoots really good video. It has a lot of great features that I mentioned, and there's just a few negatives with some of the battery issues, the potential durability concerns, and then the fact that it's not waterproof. But overall, I think this is going to work for me. I'm excited to use this more, try out a lot of the features, and have this really be my go-to device. Now, I'm coming from the Pixel 2, and that shoots pretty good video, but the moment that you start walking or running with it, the footage is really shaky. So that's why I was looking for something similar to the GoPro or the Osmo Pocket to really give me that crisp, clean, stabilized footage. So for me, this thing's going to work. I give it a thumbs up. I think there are some workarounds for some of the issues that I mentioned, and this is going to be my new go-to device. So that's going to wrap things up for today. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, hit that subscribe button. I'm Juice. Thanks for coming along.